Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're tuning in today because we are setting up a mission that is, honestly, a genuine electronics whodunit. You know that feeling when you're staring at a broken piece of tech and you get that overwhelming urge to just start randomly swapping out parts, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best? Well, we are going to completely change how you approach that today. We're going to learn how to really think, how to reason, and how to follow a strict logical diagnostic map to catch the exact culprit. All right, let's dive right into this. Okay, let me set the scene of the crime for you. We've got a modern switched-mode power supply sitting right here on our bench. We measure the input, and it is receiving a perfect 220 volts of alternating current. But on the output side, absolutely zero, just nothing. The board seems totally dead. But if you lean in and listen really closely, it's trapped in this mysterious, endless tick-tick reboot loop. It really wants to turn on, but something is holding it back. So, here is how we'll solve this case. First, the dead power supply mystery. Then, the investigation map. Next up, eliminating the first suspects, then testing the secondary, and finally, we'll unmask the true culprit. Let's do this.
Section 1. The dead power supply mystery.
To figure out the crime, we have to examine the victim, the central brain of the power supply, which is the integrated circuit, or IC. Now, the magic number here is 8 volts. This little chip combines the control logic and the power transistor all into one package. But to wake up and actually start working, its VCC pin, that's pin number 3, has to hit a specific threshold of exactly 8 volts. When we test this pin, we literally see the voltage climb right up to 8 volts. And then bam, it instantly crashes down. Then it struggles back up and crashes again. That constant rising and falling, that's exactly what is causing that physical clicking sound. The power supply is trying its hardest to start, but something is violently slamming on the brakes.
Section 2. The investigation map.
Now, before we even think about picking up a soldering iron, we need our blueprint. How does a switched-mode power supply actually operate? Well, energy follows a fundamental 5-step path. It comes in through protection and filtering, it gets rectified, it feeds the control IC, moves through the transformer, and finally comes out as a regulated output. Now, we already checked the main high-voltage capacitor, which sits right after Step 2, rectification, and it's perfectly fine and fully charged. So what does that tell us? It tells us a crucial piece of information. The high-voltage energy is successfully making it to the IC. The problem isn't the power arriving. The problem is simply that the IC can't hold on to its startup voltage.
Section 3. Eliminating the first suspects.
Since we know the power is definitely arriving, it's time to round up the usual suspects on the primary side of the circuit. When that VCC voltage won't hold steady, the guilty party is almost always one of the components responsible for feeding or protecting that specific pin. So here's our lineup: the startup resistor, the VCC capacitor, the auxiliary winding, the rectifier and Zener diodes, and finally, the secondary circuit and its feedback loop. Let's systematically cross them off our map.
Suspect number 1 is the startup resistor. Think of this component as taking a tiny sip of high voltage and feeding it to the IC just to give it that first initial push. If this resistor is open or acting weird, the IC gets 0 startup current. But when we test it, it measures exactly 68,000 ohms, 68K. That is its perfect factory-rated value. The initial spark is doing its job completely fine. We can cross the startup resistor right off the list.
Next up, the VCC capacitor. This little guy acts like an energy reserve for the IC right after it wakes up. If it dries out or loses its capacitance, the voltage just collapses. Now, since these are cheap and they fail constantly, we don't even mess around. We just swap that suspicious 47 microfarad capacitor out for a brand new one. And the result? Absolutely no change. The reboot loop was still there. We also went ahead and tested the auxiliary winding diodes and the protective Zener diode. They all passed with flying colors. Their innocence is proven.
All right, so here is the major turning point. We've verified the startup, we've verified the VCC capacitor, and we've verified all the protections. Everything on the primary side of that IC is totally solid. So what on earth could possibly be dragging the power supply down?
Section 4. Testing the secondary.
It is time to pivot our investigation and interrogate the secondary side of the circuit. Now, the secondary side is pretty straightforward. It just turns the alternating current coming from the transformer back into smooth, direct current. But if there happens to be a short circuit hiding over here, the main IC will detect it and instantly go into protection mode. So we ran some rapid tests. The secondary diodes, they conduct perfectly in one direction, showing about 267 millivolts, and they block in the other. Perfect. The filter capacitors, they give a quick beep on our multimeter and then stop, which means they are taking a charge and are definitely not shorted out. So the secondary components behave perfectly. Cross them all off the list.
Section 5. The true culprit.
Well, we are officially running out of map. With the primary and secondary cleared, we have to focus intensely on our final remaining suspect pool, the intricate feedback loop. This loop consists of two main parts, a TL431 regulator and an optocoupler. To test that TL431 safely without plugging the board into the wall, we literally inject exactly 12 volts of direct current straight into the secondary from a bench power supply. And when we probe the TL431, its cathode measures nearly exactly 12 volts, and its reference pin hits perfectly around 2.5 volts. It is responding exactly as it should, flawless. And that leaves us with exactly one suspect, the optocoupler. Let's quickly define this little marvel. It's a supercritical component that bridges the completely isolated secondary and primary sides of the board. Inside, it has an infrared LED on one side and a phototransistor on the other. When the output voltage goes up, that LED shines brighter, and the phototransistor lets more current flow. It is essentially the emergency brakes that tell the IC brain, hey, slow down, or stop completely.
So we test it. Pins 1 and 2, that's the LED side. They test totally fine. But then we test pins 3 and 4, the phototransistor side. And guys, here is the dramatic climax of our detective story. A healthy phototransistor should not conduct current when you test it cold with a multimeter. But ours, it shows massive, total conduction in both directions. No way! It is a dead short. We found it.
Let me explain exactly why this matters so much. Because pins 3 and 4 were shorted together, the feedback pin on the control IC was permanently grounded. So the IC wakes up, looks at the feedback pin, and is instantly tricked into thinking the output voltage is catastrophically high, even though the actual output is literally zero. The IC totally panics and forces an immediate protective shutdown. Then it tries to wake up again, panics again, and shuts down again. That is our mystery tick-tick reboot loop.
So we desoldered that tiny, shorted optocoupler and replaced it with a fresh one. Plug the power supply back in, and immediately it functioned perfectly. The exact required output voltage popped right up. You see, the IC wasn't broken, the secondary wasn't broken, it was just a tiny component in the control loop lying to the brain. This completely proves the absolute golden rule of repair. Follow the logical diagnostic map. If we had just guessed and started swapping the IC or the transformer, we would have wasted hours and fixed absolutely nothing.
By isolating variables, testing system by system, and refusing to guess, we took an impossible mystery and turned it into a guaranteed solution. Which leaves me with a final thought for you to ponder. We just used a blueprint to completely decode a highly complex piece of modern electronics. What other complex systems in your life, whether at work, in your projects, or just your daily routines, could be fixed a whole lot faster if you simply stopped guessing and started following a logical map? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.